Sticky notes, my new favorite hobby. Each handwritten with pen and left to rot on a wall for months. I should really go through some of these. Buy socks. That's a great idea. Invest in socks. Nah, I already bought some. Wear socks. Nah, that's just too far. What is this one? I should really get on this one.
Picture this. You're Sega in the year 1999. With the release of the Dreamcast and its poor sales in comparison to other consoles, Sega knew it was time to hang up their hat in the console industry. After the failed launch of their prior console, the Sega Saturn, and now the Dreamcast, they smelled bankruptcy in the air, and it was potent. So Sega became a full-on third-party developer in 2001, meaning they developed their games for other consoles. And while twiddling their thumbs trying to figure out what to make for the 6th generation of consoles, the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox, they decided to create my favorite game of all time. Jet Set Radio Future was thrown into development in February of 2001, just as soon as Sega discontinued their Dreamcast to become a third party. It was developed for the original Xbox, as the developer Smilebit wanted to focus on the US market rather than the market in Japan. The Xbox just seemed like the American console, with Microsoft at its head and ads like this.
Taste it! Yeah! You're going down! Yeah!
Just seemed like the perfect fit. So, with a team of only 25 people, the game was completed in January of 2002 and released as a launch title for the Xbox here in North America. Jet Set Future is a reimagining of a prior Jet Set Radio game on the Dreamcast, reusing the game's setting, plot, and characters, but now with a new futuristic style. Masayoshi Kikuchi, the project leader of Smilebit at the time, said, quote, "We didn't want to be restricted by the previous game. Instead of making a sequel that started at the end of the first game, we wanted to start all over with the same general feel and the same game concept, but start over from the beginning. Detaching this game from its original gives each game its own unique identity and makes either one easy to pick up for newcomers. Compare this to the likes of Pikmin. Pikmin 1, 2, 3, and maybe a fourth are all separated by numbers, which may feel alienating to newcomers, as they feel like in order to play Pikmin 3, they have to play Pikmin 1 and 2, and honestly, each one of these games can stand on their own. Smilebit also decided to tweak parts of the gameplay to make everything more fast-paced. Graffiti was no longer a minigame, rather instantaneous with a trigger pull, and a boost function was implemented to propel a player at top speeds. And with the new hardware of the Xbox and now its fancy hard drive, the load times were significantly reduced. I ended up with the game at a yard sale around 2008 alongside an original Xbox and a few other games. Mine, alongside many Xbox consoles, were bundled with this 2-in-1 disc combo of Jet Set Radio Future and Sega GT 2002, because you can't have one without the other. The Xbox was my first home console, and this game had me hooked from the moment it began. And speaking of the beginning, the story begins with the GGs, a local roller skate gang hell-bent on freedom of expression and avid listeners to the Tokyo Underground pirate radio broadcast from
Jet Set Radio.
DJ Professor K acts as the game's narrator and cyberbully as he broadcasts the progress of the story while laughing hysterically as you fall into raw sewage. The GGs themselves are wrapped up in a territorial tug-of-war between rival gangs, all while corrupt businessman Rokako Goji sends out his personal police to silence each and every one of them. And these police are ruthless. The Rokako police dispatch buses of enforcers, tanks, helicopters, fighter jets, terror drones, all just to take down a small group of teenagers on Heelys. It's pretty incredible. The cartoony plot ties perfectly into the game's art style and visual identity, creating the feeling of a Saturday morning cartoon heavily based in pop culture. The original Jet Set Radio was a pioneer of the cel-shaded style, alongside other titans of the industry like Sly Cooper. As great as the original Jet Set Radio's art style was, I believe that Future perfected it. All of the game's assets and characters and environments just pop right out of the screen. It's truly incredible the amount of power they were able to crank out of the original Xbox so early into its life. Both of the Jet Set Radio games prove that the creative art direction can keep a game looking stellar for years. Compare this to another game that came out on the Xbox in 2002, The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. Sure, Elder Scrolls isn't known for its cartoonish style or anything, but this game right here holds up a heck of a lot better than this game over here. Each environment and district is super unique, each featuring level designs that encourage exploration of not only the player's surroundings, but exploring creative ways to get around the map. Jet Set Radio jumps at the opportunity to throw a heap of rails and walls towards the player, each rail and wall allowing for faster traversal across the map, making the mastery of these levels that much more satisfying to the player. You can get around the entirety of Shibuya Terminal without touching the ground. While we're on the topic of different districts, I'd like to announce a new segment.
Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen, to Jet Set Radio Future Districts and their level designs are just short. Just rolls off the tongue. Doganzaka Hill is a perfect level to start out with. An open road with a looped racetrack silhouette, perfect for introducing players to the streets of Tokyo-to. Shibuya Terminal is so sick. The multi-layered overpasses and walkways make for perfect movement across the map. Chuo Street is similar to Doganzaka Hill in its looped layout, but it stands out for its breaking and entering, grind-to-wall ride section, and this chameleon statue. Rokakudai Heights is a super compact residential zone stacked up really, really high. Pretty cool scale. 99th Street, famous for its massive dragon and its...
You see, I'm playing this on the Xbox 360 as a means to play through HDMI. The Xbox 360 is backwards compatible with most Xbox games, but it seems like each game has a different problem. Jet Set Radio happens to have some crazy frame drops, as well as a few flickering textures and some bug graffiti editors. The best way to play this game is on original hardware, but 99th Street's pretty, runs well on the original Xbox. The sewer levels are riddled with tons of half-pipes and rails to go crazy on, and the lower point is super cool, like, oh man, here's where the bad guys live, all on a super looped racetrack with a twisting corridor to slide down. The Skyscraper District? I never liked this one very much. There's just not a ton of room for movement, and it's all restricted to the tops of skyscrapers, which is cool in concept, but it makes for a very frustrating level. Haikage Street, oh man, there's 3 different sides elevated with walkways and the boss fight on top against the Terror Drone, super awesome. Kiboganga Hill, similar to Rokakudai Heights in its design, but made up of a loop instead for racing purposes. And the helicopters coming after you is so over the top, but it's a fun little boss fight regardless. Highway Zero, super awesome racetrack loop with arson. And then there's the Expo Stadium, made specifically to be the court for the most advanced game of catch ever, Death Ball. I'd never passed the ball once. It's so satisfying to hit every rail and every jump to get through in record time, and the second fight against a Terror Drone, oh man, this is where it gets real. Sky Dinosaurian Square is so freaking cool. It's a roller coaster, how insane is this? The fight against the rival gang on the tracks, ooh, so cool.
This may just be the hardest I'll ever geek.
The final level is incredible. I have no idea what I'm looking at, but I do see a way to use all the tricks I've used before in the streets of Tokyo-to to defeat the final boss. This is what good game design looks like, introducing the environment in a harmless way and then using those same pieces to create more of a challenge. And if you were to stop gawking at the game's level design and visuals, you'd realize your ears are being flooded with some of the most funky fresh beats of all time. Funky. Ah, yes, the Jet Set Radio soundtrack, some of the most boppin' game music ever made. Hideki Naganuma was the lead creator and producer for almost all the original tracks in the game, while the band the Latch Brothers was in charge of several remixes and a few songs of their own. Not every song is a winner, there's a song in here called Birthday Cake that makes my ears bleed. But there is definitely a song you can tap your foot to at the very least. The music alone made Jet Set Radio Future stand out, but paired with the gorgeous cell shading and the crazy plot, this game is truly one of a kind. But how does it actually play? Well, good, that answers that question. Gameplay is the most important part of a game. You know, who cares if it looks good? If it's not fun to play, I'm not buying it.
If it's not fun, why bother?
Tagging walls with graffiti takes center stage as the game's main gimmick. Each level has a set number of spots to paint and must be graffitied over in order to progress. And if you don't like whatever the heck this is, you could make your own graffiti. There's a neat little graffiti editor where you can design as many different styles as you want, or spray the only 2 logos that should be used as graffiti. Each character is equipped with magnet-powered roller skates to get to each tag by way of flipping, grinding, or wall riding. Not only can you grind down walls and ramps, but also straight-up telephone poles and ladders. The defiance of gravity can make for some pretty insane level design, and some really convenient exits. And when you pop on that rail, you better have that X button ready. While on rails, you can mash the X button to do tricks and gain some insane speed, and if you jump from a high enough point, some tricks can save you from fall damage. But just because this game has roller skates, doesn't mean that this game is classified under this genre. The reason these tricks are here is to increase your speed and to get to each tag faster. This game is far more tag-based than sport-based, and that's great because I don't think I could sleep at night if I classified these 2 games under the same category of Deca Sports. Multiple new characters join your pseudo skate gang, having unique stats like health and pockets. Beating the final boss Rikago Goji in his tower that looks like a drug trip unlocks the ability to unlock characters for other groups. Just complete all the challenges in a district and nab all the graffiti souls, and you'll be on a one-way ticket to Test Run Avenue. Getting a jet ranking on all the challenges in a district nets you a new character to roam the streets as. It's just a really neat thing to have access to, all these characters that were previously just rivals, and it gives a reason to keep playing after you defeat the final boss. Each character controls differently, but each one controls super well. They really nailed the feeling of roller skates to make it just tight enough to be satisfying, with just enough give to be realistic. While on these roller skates, spray cans can be collected to use for graffiti to mark your team's turf. Graffiti plays a huge role not only as a stick-it-to-the-man kind of action, but also functions as the character's attack. Got problems with the Rokaku police? Blam, spray paint. Giant monster train? Spray paint. Man with gun? Spray paint. Spray paint on the wall? Spray paint. Another thing you can do with these characters is compete against your friends in multiplayer. which is pretty bare bones. There's a couple different modes and maps that only show up here, but it just kind of seems like it was an afterthought, and it might have been rushed to meet the launch of the Xbox. Like, there's a typo on the main menu. I cannot express how satisfying and smooth the movement is. The amount of freedom you're given to explore the city and come up with your own routes and techniques is truly incredible. I cannot wait for another game in this series to come out. Oh no. Jet Set Radio Future has been dormant for the past 18 years. This game can smoke e-cigarettes, but can't get an HD port to modern consoles. My guess was that the game was stuck in some sort of music rights limbo with the Latch brothers and all, but they ported the original Jet Set Radio in HD in 2012, so honestly I have no idea. There's been nothing from this series since, unless you want to count Beat's playability in Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed. You know, the game that also had Danica Patrick and Wreck-It Ralph. And don't beat yourself up over it, I wouldn't want to include it either. Even with Jet Set Radio's near obscurity, there is a sizable cult following behind the series. Fans who played the original, future, or both, and love everything about the series, myself included. There's been a massive call for a new Jet Set Radio game since the mid-2000s, and there's even been a few companies that brought up ideas for a new entry to Sega. In 2006, Kuju Entertainment said they had an idea for a Jet Set game on the Wii, and even had a couple character designs to show to Sega. And in 2017, Dinosaur Games came up with a proof of concept for a brand new, current-gen Jet Set Radio game, but both were turned down by Sega. They said they were uninterested in making a new game, and I'm baffled as to why. The community is large enough to warrant another sequel. I'd say that there are more fans of Jet Set Radio out there than there are fans of Sega's other games like Yakuza or Alex Kidd, but it's always pushed to the side. So, in Sega's absence, fans have stepped in to create their own games for the series. JSRF Multiplayer and JSR Minimix are just a couple of examples of some great projects that bring the same atmosphere to life, and are all available for free. Individuals aren't the only ones keeping the game style alive either. Large studios such as Midgard Studio and Team Reptile have paid tribute to Jet Set Radio's style with Hover and Lethal League Blaze respectively, proving that it's not just a phase, it's an art style. There is an actual Jet Set Radio station online set up by fans that streams similar music and both games' original soundtracks. It's pretty neat. The future of Jet Set Radio looks pretty shaky, but I'm glad its legacy lives on through other games in its community. But I have one idea that would make the concept of Jet Set Radio very appealing to the average consumer.
I don't know. Not really my thing.
Yo!